Hello and welcome to Courts Today by Live Law. Let us get to today's top legal headlines. Comedian Kunal Kamra has approached the Bombay High Court to quash Mumbai Police's FIR for video against Eknath Shinde. Petitions challenging Waqf Amendment Act 2025 were mentioned today before the Supreme Court for urgent listing. The Supreme Court has granted relief to DEIED candidates of 2020-2022 in West Bengal. A Karnataka court has framed charges against former MP Prajwal Ravanna in the rape case, flagging illegal admission of confession and lapses in DNA evidence. The Supreme Court has set aside death penalty in a child rape murder case. Saying that internship is not employment, the Rajasthan High Court has rejected a plea for bonus marks for internship during COVID-19 to seek appointment as a nursing officer. I'm your host Urvashi Chauhan with your daily roundup of legal updates from across the country. For detailed reading, you can visit www.livelaw.in. Please make sure to watch this video till the end and do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Well, before I get to the details, here is an exciting opportunity for judiciary aspirants. Live Law Academy, Live Law's judiciary coaching initiative, has opened registrations for its May batch. You can choose from two tailored courses. First, Jessup 2.0, a comprehensive 18-month online program covering everything you need to crack the judiciary exam, taught by an expert panel including retired judges. And Jessup Lite, a flexible weekday-only program for those who prefer a structured yet lighter approach. Sign up by 10th April and get an exclusive 30% early bird discount. Plus, enjoy free Live Law subscription, case compilations, and much more. Don't miss this opportunity and enroll today at www.livelawacademy.in. Comedian Kunal Kamra has approached the Bombay High Court seeking to quash the FIR over his recent videos against Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. The matter was mentioned by senior advocate Navroz Sirvai today before the division bench led by Justice Sarang Kotwal. The bench has agreed to grant an urgent hearing tomorrow. Kamra, who presently resides in Tamil Nadu, was earlier granted interim anticipatory bail in connection with the Mumbai Police FIR. The interim protection ended today and it has been extended till 17th April now by the Madras High Court. You already know that a zero FIR was lodged against Kamra for public mischief and defamation by Shiv Sena MLA Murari Patel. You already know that a zero FIR was lodged against Kamra for public mischief and defamation by Shiv Sena MLA Muraji Patel. The FIR was later transferred to Khar police station in Mumbai. Though Kamra had not directly taken the Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde's name, the party workers allege that he had called Shinde a traitor while referencing to his split from the Shiv Sena. Offended by Kamra's remarks, a group of Shiv Sena workers had also vandalized Mumbai's Habitat studio where the comedian had performed the show. 12 people were arrested in connection with the violence that had erupted and were subsequently granted bail. Kamra claims that he has been receiving death threats since the show. In the next update, the petitions filed in the Supreme Court challenging the Waqf Amendment Act of 2025 were mentioned before the Chief Justice of India today, seeking urgent listing. Notably, the impugned act, which was passed by the Parliament on 4th April after hours of discussion, received presidential assent on 5th April. Senior advocate Kapil Sibal today mentioned the petition filed by Maulana Arshad Madni, president of Jamaat Ulema-e-Hind. However, CJI Sanjeev Khanna asked Sibal why he was mentioning the matter orally when there is an email system for urgent listings. Sibal said that he had already sent the letter and the CJI assured that he would examine it and do the needful. Meanwhile, Advocate Nizam Pasha also mentioned a separate petition filed by Lok Sabha MP Asauddin Awesi. Several petitions have been filed challenging this Waqf Amendment Act, including by Kerala Sunni scholars body named Samast Kerala Jamaat ul Ulema, Delhi MLA Amanatullah Khan, Congress MP Mohammad Javed, and the NGO Association for Protection of Civil Rights. The petitions claim that the new amendments are unconstitutional and threaten the existence of many historical Waqf properties. The main issues raised are removal of Waqf by user, a principle recognized by the Supreme Court in the Babri Masjid case, new clauses that prohibit Waqf claims over ASI protected monuments and scheduled tribe lands, and changes to composition of Waqf boards, removing the Muslim majority requirement. The petitioners have asked the court to defer the implementation of the law, fearing that once notified, many historical mosques, graveyards, and Waqf properties could be lost. Apart from these, let me tell you, the Indian Union Muslim League, a political party, has also filed an Article 32 writ petition challenging the act today. The act is challenged as an unconstitutional assault on the religious autonomy and personal rights of Muslim community in India. Stay tuned tuned for more updates on this matter. The Supreme Court has addressed the eligibility of diploma in elementary education candidates from 2020-2022 batch in West Bengal whose course completion had been delayed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Because of the pandemic disruptions, these candidates could not complete their training by the usual deadline of 30th June 2022. Concerned about becoming overage for primary school teacher recruitment, many of them approached the Calcutta High Court asking either for the results to be declared quickly or for the recruitment process to be postponed to accommodate them. In the meantime, the West Bengal Board of Primary Education issued a recruitment notification on 29 September 2022. This notice explicitly stated that candidates currently pursuing the DEIED course for 2020-2022 session would be eligible to apply. A detailed recruitment advertisement was later published on 21st October 2022, which again confirmed that the 2020-2022 batch candidates could participate. Subsequently, these candidates received their course completion certificates on 29th November 2022. However, this recruitment process was challenged by candidates who had completed their DEIED degrees before this 29 September 2022. They argued that the 2020-2022 batch students were not qualified as of the date of the first notification and thus should not be allowed to compete. The division bench of the Calcutta High Court had agreed with this view and had held that 29 September 2022 should be treated as the cutoff date for eligibility. As a result, it set aside the earlier single judge's order that had permitted the 2020-2022 batch candidates to apply. While the Supreme Court did not agree with the High Court's view, the top court has clarified that when recruitment rules do not specify a cutoff date, the eligibility should be determined with reference to the recruitment advertisement. In this case, the advertisement was issued on 21st October 2022. The court relied on the precedent set by the Constitution bench in Tej Prakash Pathak versus Rajasthan High Court, which holds that if the rules are silent, the date mentioned in the recruitment notice or the last date of application should be treated as the deciding date. The Supreme Court also recognized that COVID-19 pandemic has created exceptional circumstances. It observed that the West Bengal Board of Primary Education and the single judge had acted correctly and fairly to ensure that students affected by the delays were not unjustly excluded from employment opportunities. In its ruling, the Supreme Court has set aside the division bench's decision and has directed the board to continue with the recruitment process as per 21st October 2022 notification. The court emphasized the need to proceed quickly with the recruitment, ensuring that the affected batch candidates are not left out. And now let me tell you, a court in Bengaluru has framed charges against Janata Dal secular leader and former MP Prajwal Ravanna in connection with the first rape case filed against him in the rural police station in Hassan district. Additional city civil and sessions judge Santosh Gajanan Bhatt formally charged Ravanna under multiple sections of the Indian Penal Code, including for rape by a person in a position of dominance, for repeated rape, sexual harassment, for assault with the intention to disrobe, voyeurism, criminal intimidation, and for causing the disappearance of evidence. He was also charged under Section 66E of the Information Technology Act, which deals with violation of privacy. According to the prosecution, the victim was employed as a maid at a farmhouse owned by Ravanna family. It is alleged that starting from 2021, during the COVID-19 lockdown, Ravanna repeatedly raped her at different locations and filmed the assaults. Further, the prosecution claims that Ravanna used these recordings to threaten and silence her, preventing her from filing any complaint. The special investigation team is currently probing 3 separate cases against Ravanna. He remains in judicial custody after being arrested by the SIT at Bengaluru airport on his return from Germany in May last year. The trial is set to move forward with the next hearing scheduled for 9th April now. Also, in a related update to this matter, let me tell you, the Karnataka High Court today issued notice to the state government on the bail petition filed by Ravanna in connection with the same rape case. Justice Pradeep Singh Yerur issued the notice to the state and directed it to file its objections by 15th April. That is the next date of hearing. Stay tuned. The Supreme Court has overturned the conviction of a man who had been sentenced to death for rape and murder of a minor. The court found serious irregularities in how the trial was conducted, ultimately declaring it unfair and illegal. Let me tell you, the accused had been convicted for offences under multiple serious charges, including rape causing death, murder, kidnapping of a minor, and destruction of evidence under the IPC and the POCSO Act. However, according to the top court, during the trial, critical procedural lapses had occurred. The Supreme Court observed that the trial judge allowed investigating officer to narrate the accused's confessional statements in court, something that is strictly prohibited under law. Under Section 164 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, only confessional statements recorded before a magistrate are admissible as evidence. In this case, the confession narrated by the police officer was admitted during the trial, completely violating established legal procedures. Justices Vikram Nath, Sanjay Karol, and Sandeep Mehta, who heard the appeal, criticized the trial judge's conduct, calling the procedure grossly illegal and totally distorted. The court also pointed out another major flaw: the mishandling of forensic evidence. Although a DNA report was produced during the trial, the scientific expert who prepared it was never called to testify. According to Section 45 of the Evidence Act and a 2023 precedent in Rahul versus State of Delhi, a DNA report cannot be accepted automatically. It must be supported by expert testimony to prove that the methods used were reliable. The top court has said that chain of custody for the DNA samples was completely broken. There was no proof that the samples were sealed properly, transmitted securely to the forensic lab, or kept safe from tampering. In such circumstances, the court ruled that it would be unsafe to rely on the DNA evidence. Combined with the illegally admitted confession, the entire prosecution case fell apart. As a result, the Supreme Court has set aside the man's conviction and acquitted him. And lastly, the Rajasthan High Court has rejected a plea moved by various students pursuing diploma in general nursing and midwifery course, who had interned during the COVID-19 pandemic period and had thus sought bonus marks as provided to COVID health assistants for appointment to post of nursing officer. Justice Arun Monga opined that internship, being an integral part of the academic curriculum without which the diploma could not be granted, could not be termed as an employment but rather a continuation of the studenthood. Hence, on this ground, the petitioners were not entitled to seek benefits of bonus marks, claiming to be under employment. On a pointed query to the counsel for the petitioners as to whether the diploma can be awarded without completion of the internship, the answer is in negative. Being so, it thus emerges that internship is an integral part of the academic curriculum for the diploma in question, and the same cannot therefore be termed as an employment but rather a continuation of studenthood. The court further noted that a coordinate bench of the court in Pramila and others versus State of Rajasthan and others, which pertained to a similar controversy, had already put the same to rest by dismissing the claim of similarly situated counterparts of the petitioners. The services of the petitioners who were pursuing general nursery and midwifery course were used during COVID-19 due to a shortage of medical staff. At that time, the state also recruited health assistants for conducting surveys and distributing medicines. When the advertisement for the post of nursing officers was issued, a writ petition was filed in the court that resulted in directions to the state to issue bonus marks to health assistants who provided service during pandemic, which was granted by the state. So such bonus marks were also sought by the petitioners here, which was not considered, resulting in the petition filed before the High Court. It was argued on behalf of the state that the post of the health assistants, for which the petitioners were claiming parity based on the nature of work and duties, required qualification of GNM and registration with the Rajasthan Nursing Council. However, at the relevant time, the petitioners were still undergoing the GNM course and did not possess the required professional qualification. According to the office order dated 25th April 2023, which outlines the eligibility criteria for granting bonus marks, the petitioners do not meet the requirements to claim the bonus marks. The petitioners were neither engaged on a contract basis nor on a temporary basis and therefore do not fall under the definition of karmic who are entitled to receive the bonus marks. Accordingly, their petition was dismissed.